I was born and raised in a sports culture where you had an injury, you just kind of, you sprain your ankle, you like lace it up tighter, and you just keep going.
Yeah, I think him saying that sort of like brought belief in myself, like, oh wow, like he thinks I can do it really good, then maybe it's something like worth pursuing.
There have just been so many people along my ultimate career who have made like a big difference in my life and like my ultimate life. Sometimes it's like little things that like those people probably wouldn't even remember saying necessarily, but like older teammates or like veterans that like give you a little piece of advice or give you a little piece of encouragement or show that they believe in you, that have given me the confidence to be the player that I am.
Kind of similar to that, Tommy Lamar, who was like a captain of Wilmington, and like I think my freshman, maybe sophomore year, he told me like at the end of my sophomore year, he's like, hey, if you like keep it up, you could be the best player that Wilmington's ever like created. And I like at the time I was like, that's bullshit. Even saying that, I was like, wow, like he actually like sees something in me, and like just even saying that, and again, I doubt he ever remembers saying that. And then like I have then passed that on to like other Wilmington people, like sort of like I just remember how much of an impact that made for me. I think him saying that sort of like brought belief in myself, like, oh wow, like if he thinks I can do like really good, then maybe it's something like worth pursuing. Again, he said like he probably doesn't remember saying that at all, but like I've now passed it down to like other people who I kind of see that thing in them, and that definitely like left an impact on me.
I remember my first year playing club, we went to Canadian Nationals, and it was a bid year for Worlds, so it was a really important final, and we played GOAT, and we lost in a really close game, and it was nothing specific, but I just remember how crushed the top guys on the team that I looked up to were, especially like Kevin Underhill, who's one of my Frisbee mentors, and just how much that game had meant to him. And I was just a rookie on the team. I was happy to be there. I was like, we played well. We came second, tough one, but just how much competition was important to them. And it really stuck with me and really made me want to be around that sport and put the amount of passion that they had for the game into the game. And that really set me off on my club journey, I'd say.
But for me, it's probably less of an on-field playing moment. I was born and raised in a sports culture where you had an injury, you just kind of, you sprain your ankle, you like lace it up tighter, and then you just keep going. And I was used to doing that in Frisbee as well. And I think I had come back from a pretty big ankle sprain and played a regionals game that was like semi-important. It just would have set us up really well for taking a bid into nationals. I sprained the good ankle and came off on the sidelines and was ready to like lace it up. It was like Saturday of regionals and was like lacing it up to like, go back in. And one of my teammates came over and was like, this isn't worth it. Like you're gonna push through it and you're gonna be in worse shape for Sunday and then potentially for nationals. And it was really refreshing for like the first time in my life. It wasn't like a, down some ibuprofen, lace it up, tape it over your shoe and like keep going. It was more like a look for the longevity of the sport and the reward that you actually want, the end goal that you actually want, instead of the short term, like, nobody ever needs to be a hero for their team. You can take a rest and trust that the team will get the job done.
The other one I was talking about was my sophomore year. It was like the first year where like I got like kind of serious about Ultimate. Like freshman year I like sucked at Ultimate. And sophomore year I got like a lot better. And we had this insane run where we had to win our last game of pool play, which was like an elimination game for us. If we didn't win, we were out of the tournament. And so the last game of pool play, we started off on defense at Universe Point. We get the turn right on the goal line, like they were about to score. We get the turn. They huck to me, I score. So we win that game. And so then we're on to Harvard in pre-quarters. And this was like probably the most memorable like play of my career, like still. We start off on D again, Universe Point again, elimination again, pre-quarters. They work it up all the way. We like hold them like 10 yards out for like a bunch of passes, and then they finally have a pass to score on the end zone. I get a layout D and like keep it scoring. Yeah, it's pretty sick. And then
I'm living for this.
Yeah, exactly. And then we call timeout. Xavier hucks to me. I catch it in the end zone. We score again. I catch it and I score again. And then we had the pick game, which was quarters, and it was in the morning. It was like the quintessential, like it was like that perfect quarters game where like every other quarters had finished and we were universe point, and then like people started lining the fields. For universe points, we all start on D. There's something about those USAU like nationals games where people start lining the fields.
Yeah.
And it's like
Old
5
school.
rows deep.
Old school style.
Everyone's
Old
coming
school,
like,
yeah.
oh shit, it's like UNCW and Pitt, it's universe point, like everyone, and so like it's the last point. All of a sudden, like there's like it feels like 1,000 people lining the field, and like people like chirping and stuff like that. And we pull, and like me and us and Pitt already have like this big rivalry. So we pull, they work it down the field, they complete a huck, but they're like 20 yards outside of the end zone. They do a swing pass, Max Thorne lays out, bumps off his hand, and like the sideline goes crazy. Like Pitt's been the dominant team for so long. Xavier throws this crazy blade to me. I catch it right down the end zone. I don't know how to throw still. It's like my sophomore year. I like throw this little floaty backhand. It floats for forever. Xavier comes in, slides and grabs it, throws a break flick to Austin. We win the game. It was just like 3 games in a row, starting off universe points, starting off on D. It was kind of our breakthrough on like getting to semis, like which is like semis kind of feels like Final Four. It's like an extra level, and yeah, that was like a very like back moments. And, like, yeah, really sick.
That's so nice.
The first one that got me to like believe in myself and like have like some actual success, because I kind of came from a really not so good college program. But I did my 5th year at UNC, so we had actually lost in the semis at regionals, and like we had to go through the back door to make it to nationals. It was really close, and we ended up breaking to win against Georgetown to go to nationals. It was the first time that UNC had gone to nationals in like 7 years, and you know, one of my best friends had gotten injured earlier in that season, and you know, we like really wanted to win so that we could go to nationals and that she could be able to play with us again. So that was like a really big moment for me.
Mine is also going to be a college moment, and it was a 2018 season, and I was super new to the sport, and I had also had my first ankle surgery in December of 2017. So I worked really, really hard to come back as quick as I could, but I didn't think, because the season, I felt like it was pretty short. So I had a 3-month recovery, and that's, you know, January, February, March. Those are all the regular season tournaments. It was a mix of feelings, because I went to every single practice, like crutched out to the middle of the field and just sat there in my little chair and like, you can do it, because I didn't know how to throw. I didn't really feel like I had a good game sense, and the only way that I'm going to get better at that is observing it. I got some good news that I could come back, and I think my first game I got to play in was at regionals, and we were not great, but we had a like, I don't want to say it was ragtag, but it was the start of the rebuild, and we just had a lot of people who were determined. And in our game to go, so we were taking the last bid that was available. We were matching up against Cal Poly, which was a really good match for us at the time. And I also think it was Universe Point, and we started on a D. And I'm like, I don't think I realized that it was Universe Point. I'm like, I'm just happy to be out here. This is great. We end up getting the D, and we were very much a huck and hope team as we were in the 2019 season, as sometimes we still are. And so we end up getting the turn and have to work at the full field. And there's so many turns. This point is on Ultiworlds, on somebody's like phone footage somewhere. But it's so windy at Cal Poly. It's super known for that. And so there was turn after turn after turn, but we get the turn, and one of my teammates just launches it to the intended receiver was Julia Kwasnik, who was a really big player at the time. But I was also just like running right behind her, and there were like 2 slow people, I think, 2 Cal Poly people. They're slow. San Luis Obispo, not slow, but Cal Poly players running. So there are like 4 of us going, and all 3 of them go up to like get the disc. And I'm just like, I wonder if I just kind of stay back here, what will happen? And of course it bobbles through the hands, and I catch it. And you can hear the person on the Ultiworld person be like, yeah, and some player from Santa Barbara just catches a disc. And then I just like maybe did kind of what you did and just was like, Murr. And that was the assist. That's my teammate caught the goal, and like we went to nationals that year. And I think for me, just to see everybody's reactions of like, I think that might have been the first time the Skirts went back to nationals after like winning, like having a super legacy program and then kind of like, falling off. And for me, it was my second year of grad school, so I had been out of volleyball and I was used to like 3 and 4 hour practices every day and just high level competition for my entire life. And I hadn't had that for 2 years, but just to see what it meant for everybody that our program was going to go back to nationals, I was like, oh shit, like this is cool. Yeah, I'll stay here for a while. This is a lot of fun. And I think back on that moment a lot because I think it really solidified, maybe it kind of gets at like the legitimacy aspect, but for me, I was like, this is a competitive sport. There are do or die moments in here, and I can get the adrenaline rush and the excitement and all of these feelings that I have been used to feeling my entire life back. Like sports weren't over for me. So yeah, that was a nice moment.
So I know y'all like to talk about college nationals, but I prefer talking about like world games.
Fair.
No, but that opening game against Canada, that just felt insane. It was so rewarding. I feel like the campaign that we have in Germany and like all the hope that we put into the season and into the preparation, and then how just like got rewarded in that game and how we just pulled it all off and we just crushed Canada. And that was like not something that has been done before really by any European team like that. So it was overwhelming, the feeling, and then also the support by the entire European community actually.
Mm-hmm.
It's been, it was crazy to be part of that.
There was a lot of support from Switzerland, at least in our group chat.
Which is insane.
Crush the Americans!
Which is insane. It's like Switzerland supporting
Yeah.
Germany.
Yeah.
Never ever was
Never.
that gonna happen.
Ever.
Everyone was, I guess, like craving this World
First
Games
game.
opening game,
Right,
and
right,
no
right.
one knew what to like actually expect and how the game's actually gonna go. And then like even though US is like the favorite, Canada is still like all the way up there.
Right.
And
Yeah.
we
I mean, speaking as a Canadian, you guys torched Canada. I'm watching the USA game. I'm cheering my guts out for Germany. Like, I think everyone in the world who watched that game who wasn't American, and probably a lot of Americans were cheering for Germany. That was a pretty special run. So, yeah, that was pretty cool.
All in the past.
I mean, I'm biased too. I think USAU is the highest level of the game still. And maybe things are changing after this. After this WUCC. Yeah.
Something to say about that.
After WUCC, just now, it's like things are changing in the world. So that might not be true for very much longer, but it's still the hardest
Is it
tournament in the
still
world to win. I think it's the hardest tournament in the world to win. So
I mean,
the players that win
the
it the most.
Americans did not win in the women's division.
Yeah,
but
No,
I
you
also
won.
think that
You won.
US
Yeah. Maybe you're gonna be the GOAT.
That's fine.
Still to the point, I do think, at least for Ring, the path to semis and Club Worlds just now was much easier than the path to semis and Club Nationals for USAU, where like even in pool play and in pre-quarters and quarters, you're facing like games that are 15-12, 15-13, and in our quarters game, it was like a competitive game that was 15-9, 15-10, but like for the most part stress-free, and even to finals, we beat the semis team 15-10, and then there was, so I do think competition, but I at the top level, like finals, like for the top level of any country, like you get 7 or 14 of the best players from that country, they're all going to be relatively equal, and I think that's different. Like I think countries that have caught up there with like strategy, there's so much to learn from. Like training's all equal now. Like I think all of that, like at the top level, is still equal. But I think also I think America just has more depth to work with, like population wise.
Yeah.
Like I think like Germany doesn't have or like other countries don't have as big of a population to work with. So like America has 300 million people that they're like selecting. Each state is kind of its own country, like in population.
But like even with what you were stating, let's talk about women's division at Club Worlds.
Yeah.
Two of the best American teams made it to semis, but Brute Squad and Sixers, they didn't make it to the semis.
Right.
They went out at quarters, and Australia's on top, Colombia's on top,
Yeah,
then two American
I think
teams, then two Japanese teams, and then
more USAU teams. So it's like, yeah, you can't just like say anymore that USAU is the hardest tournament to win.
that's
It's like the best competition. I think that's already, I don't know, not
Yeah,
up to
so
date
I was
anymore.
definitely speaking on my experience from like the open division. So
It's also hard when that tournament's once every 4 years.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to compare. But,
Yeah.
I mean, it's clearly like the level is like rising significantly, and
Yeah.
you know, and there's also more games in that tournament, so it kind of has like a feeling of higher stakes. But I mean, hard to compare.